sitachoka. Ay, 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 ay. Nashukuru pale nimetoka.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Nook by the Joyride podcast, or should I say the Joyride network, but welcome to the Nook. The last time we were here on the Nook was, I think, 2023, and we promised that we would be back in 2025, and so here we are. I have missed you guys so much, and I'm excited to see where the Nook takes us. We're going to get into a very interesting conversation of what being a woman in 2025 actually means. So much has happened in my life since I last saw you on the Nook. In case you're not caught up, you can watch all the episodes on the Joyride that you missed, and you can catch up on my life update there. But let's get into what being a woman in 2025 actually means. How many different types of women have I been since birth till now? Well, I only became a woman when I actually consider myself a woman after university. I feel like I was still a girl in high school, in primary. So I think after uni, I have been a pick-me kind of woman. I have been, is that a bad thing? I've been a pick-me kind of woman. I'm not proud of my days back then. I have been unnatural. Or what a pick-me means, it means, I think, in my formative years in high school, post-high school into university, I think there's some relationships that I held on to or I wanted to be in that were not healthy for me, but I was so, in a sense, I was so desperate to be in those relationships for God knows whatever reason, whether for validation, whether I felt like I would get acceptance in those relationships. And I found myself sort of like compromising who I was. And in hindsight, I think I needed to go through that to be able to become the person that I am. I'm not so angry at myself. I'm not so judgy. I think it needed to happen the way it did. And so that's what I mean when I say I was a pick-me kind of girl. I don't know what to describe, because after that, I've been in such a long relationship with Ben we're 10 years together this year. So, I don't know what I would call my dating years. But the other kind of woman that really comes to mind is a natural, which is who I am right now as a mother. I think in some ways, even in my relationship, I've been a natural. Like, I think I can say this proudly, that in many ways, Ben has trusted me with his dreams, with his ambitions, and I've been able to add Micah spice. And that's why I say I've been a natural. I think for my dating, marriage, into wifey, I've been a lover girl. I've always been a lover girl at heart. And that's how we ended up here. What it means to be a wife for me, it's really just to be a support system for him in every sense of the word. I remember my vows so vividly. And they were, may God help me to help you to be the best version of yourself. And that whatever gifts or callings God has entrusted with you, I really want to be the one who helps you to kind of like come out of your shell and bring them to life. So I think for me, being a wife has just been to be supportive of Ben. I think I have seen him through different musical journeys when he was doing good music and now when he's doing great music. And just to support him, even when he was doing music you don't understand and you're not necessarily a fan of, but just to be able to sit there and to say you're doing a good job, you're going to get this right, you have a hit, even though you know it's not a hit. And just to see him to now where he is right now, I think it's just been to be a supporter. I think for me, in high school, I still felt very much like a girl. I didn't really understand myself. I didn't feel like I had agency. In many ways, I still felt like I was a baby. And then I don't know what happened after high school. Maybe it's just like the graduation, the hitting 18, the now starting life in university. You're trusted to go to places alone. I think that's a lot. You're starting to come to yourself. You're starting to understand yourself. You're starting to get into serious relationships. I think that's what now started making me feel like now I'm becoming a woman Yeah. What's been the most difficult thing about transitioning as my mom's daughter? In many ways, I still feel like I am, but I think there was, I don't know, and this is like, it's interesting because I'm still dependent on my mom, but I'm not dependent on her. So I think sort of like that intersection in like not being fully dependent on her and now just having to figure out myself, like it moved from my mom figuring out everything and now I had to figure out everything for myself. But now she moved from making decisions for myself to guidance. And I think that has been, it was a tricky balance. I think I've settled into it. But moving from mom make all the decisions for me, but now you make the decisions, I just offer a guidance. I think that was a bit tricky. I don't think it was the most difficult thing, but it has been tricky. I mean, the trickiness would come into the fact that when I was just a girl, my mom would make all decisions for myself, but I have to choose who I will marry. I have to choose how my home will look like. I have to choose the kind of path that my kids will take. And it's easier if somebody like mom was making all the decisions for me, but for her to just now sort of like take a back seat and now to watch her say, okay, if Ben is the person that you want to marry, that's great, but this is how a marriage works. If you've chosen to have kids, that's great, I will support you, but this is how it works. That trickiness. And I think I felt it mostly when I was getting married, but after that, I think it's been smooth. I think the trickiness came from the fact that when it's somebody else's decision, it becomes, if it backfires, it becomes their mess. You're just, it's not really on you. The responsibility is not on you. So for me to be able to carry that whole weight, I think knowing my mom, whatever decision I'll make, she wouldn't really disapprove as long as it's legal and according to the Bible. She wouldn't really disapprove. So it wasn't so much fear of her approval, fear of being accepted by her. It was really just that I had to own the decisions that I make now. And it's not really on her. Yeah. What's been the most difficult thing about being dad's daughter? I want to say following in his footsteps in some areas. I think, and I've come to, like, I think I knew this about my dad, but I think now that I'm older, seeing it play out, I'm just like, Kai, you really are that guy. Because my dad moves with a lot of faith. He moves with a lot of faith. And that's something that I struggle with. So I think in that sense, the hardest thing about being his daughter has been following in those specific footsteps. I hope he's proud of me. I remember one day he told Ben and I think we were calculating too much. And he said, watu wa kucalculate sana never make it too far in life. And I thought about it and I looked at his life and I was like, Dad calculating sana. He just, once he feels like he needs to go a certain direction, he goes for it. And I think it's gotten him this far. So I think that's been the hardest part. Oh, how has it been like being a sister? I love my siblings, especially our relationship now, the three of us. Oh my God, I love those two girls to death. They are my friends. They're my sisters. They're my friends. They are my circle. I don't know what to say. Like I really enjoy, especially as adults, because only one of us is not 30, but she's inching into 30, I think, the next year or so. And so being like having these people that you were born with and have to see how their lives have evolved and then being there for each other in different seasons of our lives. I love being a sister. I wouldn't trade my sisters for anything in the world. And even now, like now that I'm a mom, to see how they are with my son, like my son is their son. It feels like without them bearing the responsibilities. It's just so beautiful. The loneliest journey I've walked in life, which is contradictory, is would have to be motherhood, because motherhood is so... I've had huge support, and not to be confused that I haven't had support. I have to give that disclaimer, from Ben to my parents, to my sisters, to my friends. But I think being a mother to Tao is something that only I will understand. Other mothers, you might share experiences here and there, but it's so personal to me. I don't think anyone will ever understand it. And I think that's what makes it feel so lonely. An ideal woman for me, and this is very cliche, is just a woman who is comfortable in her skin, who is unapologetic about who she is. And sometimes that's frowned upon in society, but I think that's what an ideal woman is. Someone who is comfortable in her skin. You own your decisions, you own your life, and you own whatever path you've chosen to take. Whether you choose to have children, whether you choose not to have children, whether you choose to be married, you choose not to be married. I think an ideal woman is someone who just is okay with who she is and the decisions that she makes. I think I'm trying to. I'm trying to measure up to my definition of an ideal woman. I'm not... There are parts of me, and because we're doing this only 9 months postpartum, I'm still trying to figure out who I am in that season and trying to figure out who I want to show up as. And so that, of course, will create some trial and error. You're trying to be this person, you're trying to discover who you are. So I think I'm trying to be an ideal woman for myself. To be honest with you, let me be honest. Who is Wanjiru? And again, I'll sound like a broken record. Wanjiru is trying to figure out who she really is. Wanjiru has gone through a life-changing, life-altering transition. She has a baby now. She's trying to figure out who she wants to show up as online. So Wanjiru is trying to figure out who she is. Stay tuned on the Nook. You'll find out who she is. You know, marriage hasn't changed me as much as motherhood has. And it's so interesting because I've been married for 4 years, but I've only been a mother for 9 years. But I feel like I've changed so much, 9 months. I feel like I've changed so much within those 9 months than I have in those 4 years. I didn't think I had it. I knew I was sacrificial, but I didn't think I had it in me to be that sacrificial. It's also exposed parts of me that I have been difficult to confront, but I think I have to confront them now that I'm going to be with this boy for the rest of my life. Yeah. As a girl, especially transitioning to womanhood, my biggest struggle has been comparison. I think parts of me still struggle with it till date. The grass is always greener on the other side for me. And I know you guys will tell me the grass is green where you water it, and I'm learning that. But I think the biggest struggle has been, if that person is number one, I wasn't okay with being number two. I wanted to be number one. And so if that person had this, I wanted that. So that's been my biggest struggle. It really didn't matter who I compared myself with, whether it was men or women. It just was a crossboard. The grass was always green on the other side. Whether it was a man or a woman, it was always green on the other side. I think one comparison that's vivid in my mind is in one of the schools that I went to. So my parents were not well off growing up, so they've accumulated over time. So growing up, we didn't have much, but they really struggled to take us. And when I say struggle, they really struggled to take us to good schools. And so in one of the schools, me in my mind, I think we were at the bottom of the bottom. So it always felt like you're always like, so guys are discussing things like foods they eat, places they go, and to you they just seem so wild. It's like these kids are living in America and me, I'm living in another world. And it always felt like I want that kind of life. I want that kind of life. So I think that's one vivid example that I have of, and maybe that's where it stemmed from that school. I told you guys, all my problems stem from schools. So I think that's where comparison is really vivid in my mind. What I think would be easier in society, that would make it easier for me to exist, would be acceptance. In accepting people as they are, with the opinions that they have, in as much as we don't agree with them, but holding space for people to live, to be who they are in their own right, as long as it's not infringing on your own rights. I think if we could accept people a little bit more, I think the world would be a better place. I don't think right now it's that big of an issue for me, but I think I struggled with what society expects, and we talked about this 1,000,001 times on the Jury, is what society expects marriage to be and what I wanted marriage to be, or the kind of wife that I wanted to be. And whilst marriage is so personal between you and your partner, I chose to live mine publicly. So to be able to share those opinions publicly and to be met with like, oh, especially early on, with like, oh, that doesn't make sense, blah, 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 whatever they were saying. I think that was the most difficult thing, but it died down. So I think with the Nook is just to have more conversations on womanhood, but I think I want to have more from a young voice. I consider myself very young, from a young voice, but I also would want to have varied voices on womanhood. And by varied voices, I mean from younger than me, from to older than me, and I mean significantly older than me, sort of like have those intergenerational conversations on womanhood, because I think there's a lot we can learn from the younger and from the older.
Nashukuru pale nimetoka, kushukuru mimi sitachoka, nashukuru pale nimetoka.